What's going on, guys? It's John Looney. In this video, I'm going to show you a little roadmap to help you convert more of your leads into deals with these little simple steps. And I'm going to show you guys here in a second. So I want you to think about when you're making your dials or your cold calling or your door knocking, trying to sell your service or your product. If you're really thinking about your sales process when you're doing that, and if you're really speaking and controlling the conversation with intention so that every bit and piece of your conversation is guiding them and leading them to the glory land, to a contract, to a closed deal, to them writing a check to you. So let's pretend that you and a customer, a client, are on this board right here, okay? So you have you, the sales pro, and then you have the client, the prospect over here, okay? So what I used to say in the door-to-door industry is you gotta stay on deal road. And what deal road was for us, it was our sales process. There was 5 or 6 different steps on from the introduction to why you're even there, what you're trying to do, how you're gonna do it, and how cheap is it or how expensive is it, right? That was the process. And then at the end of that, they had a decision to say yes or no. Well, typically most of the presentations and calls you're on are probably a little bit the same. So I used to call that deal road. And it's because we had a bunch of guys that were knocking with us that would we used to call it throw up on the door, where they would get off track and they would talk about the family's dog and they would talk about their favorite car. And that had no intention, that had no direction, and it wasn't in line with the goal or the end result that they wanted when they initially knocked on that door or they called that client. So you have you over here and the prospect over here, and we had this thing that we called deal road. And I made it up a long time ago. And so on deal road, you had the steps of your process, right? Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, however many steps it is in your sales process. And you can use this for any product or service that you're trying to sell. And so what a laydown would be, a perfect sale, the easiest ones that come around, is if they said, yes, 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 sign me up, get the deal closed, boom. But we know that doesn't happen all the time. You're not gonna run into those all the time. That seller, the perfect lead, is not gonna be around every single day. There's this seller right here, this prospect, this lead type has different personalities. Personality type. All of these X's represent different personality types. So when you start your introduction or your opener, you have to also understand those personality types. And so when you start this sale, this conversation, and you introduce yourself to them, you have to be able to read that prospect and mirror that prospect, right? So that you can gauge where they're at, so that you can go in and get into your first step of your process to start that conversation. And so as these sales pitches and these presentations go on, you have a prospect that has a question or an objection over here or a concern over here. And maybe this seller, maybe named Sally, sometimes she wants to get way off track and go down here. It's up to you to keep this conversation intentional and in a positive, moving, progressive direction so that you can get them to a yes here. Like, are you the seller? Are you the customer? Are you the homeowner? Yes. They may have an objection over here. This is where it's important to know the product, know the service, and everything about what you're doing so that whenever they hit you with an objection, you can be proactive instead of reactive so that you can handle that and then get them back to deal road. Then they might have a concern. You need to be proactive to learn about the sellers or the target of your prospect so that when they have a concern, you've already practiced these concerns. You already know all the possible concerns they could have so that you can handle that and bring it back to deal road and keep it moving progressively, okay? And what I see a lot of times is, especially newer sales reps, is the seller Sally starts talking about their dog, or they start talking about a neighbor, and that conversation goes from being on deal road and going in a positive direction to coming over here, spinning over here. And what happens here is the deal gets cold. It goes completely off track. You lost direction, you lost control. And it's because on deal road, you do have these lanes. You got these lanes over here. And what these lanes are kind of like You remember when you would steer off the highway, or if you, hopefully you haven't, but you're on the highway and you kind of go off focus, go off direction, and boop, 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 and go the other way, boop, 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 boop. That's what this line represents. And inside of these lines is control. You controlling the conversation and you controlling the direction of the conversation. So once that seller and you start going off into this tangent about something else and it goes off track, you lose the deal. You lose your power, you lose your control in the conversation. And at the end of the day, you won't know why you didn't get the deal, but it's really because you lost control. But if we can maintain control and we can know all the objections that come up here and all the concerns that come down here, and as you go through your sales process and a common objection comes up, you get them back on track. And a common concern comes up, you get them on track. You get the yeses after you handled that objection, you get a yes after they confirm they heard it. You continue throughout your sales process, and then you can convert those leads into deals. Remember, this map means nothing without these steps. These steps are your sales process. Whatever it is that you sell, you have to have a sales process. You have to master your sales process, because that's your blueprint. That's your roadmap of what you are trying to do, so that when you call, you have intention. You have a direction of what the end result, what the goal is of this conversation for it to become a deal. So when you're calling these leads, have intention and keep it on deal road, so that if it comes up that they have an objection that's common, you've already practiced all the other objections. And if a common concern happens, you've practiced all the other common concerns. And if you're prospecting the same type of leads, the common objections and the common concerns are going to always be the same. You're going to learn them over a moment of time, and you're going to get better and better and better. And you'll be able to not only read what type of seller or client you have, but you'll be able to narrow it down to deal road. So you'll be able to convert more deals, and at the end of the day, make more money. And if you don't get the deal and you follow this process, at least you'll know what step of the process you fell short on, so you can go back and track it and go on and work on that step of the process. So if you're falling off on step 3 of your process, or let's say right here, step 4, that's where your deal fell off, you know on deal road what step of your sales process you need to work on, so that you can go back, practice it, and go try it again. But if we don't have direction, if we don't have intention, we're gonna keep calling, and not know why we're not closing deals. So stay on deal road, keep it intentional, close those deals. Thanks, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. This is my new YouTube channel. It would really help me out and support me a lot if you guys like, subscribe, throw a cool comment in there, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Thanks, guys.